I've lived with Shane for 3 years. After countless intimate moments, I asked him, "Will you marry me?" He would always smile and pinch my cheek, saying, "What are you worried about?" Later, he married a girl he met while traveling. When the wedding invitation reached me, his expression was cold and stern. Did I ever actually say we were boyfriend and girlfriend? Ever since Shane came back from his trip, he's been acting strange. Not only does he carry his phone everywhere, but he always has this weird smile on his face. What's more, the occasional glances he cast my way were always tinged with distance. Before I could even voice my question, he took the initiative to lay his cards on the table. "Yvonne, I have something to tell you. I'm married. So, move out as soon as possible." My mind exploded as if I were thrown into an ice house. By the time I came to my senses, I could finally piece together what he had said. My boyfriend went on a trip and got married just like that. I laughed in sheer anger. "Don't tell me you met a woman during your trip and just married her?" Shane seemed to have anticipated my reaction and calmly took out a marriage certificate from his bag. On the document, a photo of Shane and another woman could be seen. The woman had short black wavy hair, a healthy wheatish complexion, and a bold, radiant smile. Beside her, even Shane, who was usually deadpan, showed a hint of warmth in his expression. It still felt utterly absurd to me. What am I, then? My throat tightened as I looked at my boyfriend, who I'd been living with for 3 years. Shane averted his gaze. "I'm sorry. I think, maybe I took care of you more. But after meeting Rose, I finally understood the meaning of life." He paused, as if becoming aware of his own cruelty. "You can keep living in the apartment. You can still come to the company." Then he pulled out a crimson, gold-embossed wedding invitation from his bag. "If you want, you can come to my wedding." Looking at him stating the situation as calmly as ever, I let out a soft chuckle. I didn't reach out to take it, just silently watched him. "Shane, what are you doing now? Are you so used to looking down on me? How could you ask an ex-girlfriend if she wants to attend your wedding?" Shane's brows furrowed briefly, then quickly relaxed. Then he uttered a sentence I would never forget in my life. "I don't think I ever admitted we were boyfriend and girlfriend, did I?" For a moment, I was completely speechless. What could I say? If we were boyfriend and girlfriend, why did we live in the same house? Why did we spend intimate nights together? And why did we celebrate anniversaries? At the same time, images of us on the same bed flashed through my mind at lightning speed. I clung to Shane's arm and asked him clingily, "Will you marry me?" Shane would always chuckle softly and reply, "Silly, what are you worried about?" Back then, lost in the haze of love, I took it as tacit agreement. Looking back now, Shane had already started avoiding the question since those days. In my eyes, our 3 years of living together was love, but in his eyes, it was just mooching. Before this, I never imagined such an absurd story could happen to me. But when it actually did, I found myself stronger than I thought. I looked at Shane, and after a brief moment of guilt, he reverted to his usual arrogant self. "I never want to see you again." As I spoke, I pulled out the suitcase from the bedroom. While packing, I realized there were too many things left here to take them all. So I packed the essentials and stopped for a moment when I passed by Shane. "There are some things I can't take with me. Feel free to throw them away if you want." Shane didn't respond immediately. Just as I thought he wouldn't say anything and started walking toward the door, I heard his quiet voice behind me. "Yvonne, without me, can you really live well in City A?" I instantly flew into a rage. "Don't overestimate yourself. It's not like I can't survive anywhere else." After saying it, I felt relieved. Dragging my suitcase under the scorching sun, I started reminiscing about how Shane and I first met. When we first met, I had just graduated. With my mediocre academic background, I had failed several job interviews back then. Shane had just started his business at that time with a limited budget and was willing to train newcomers from scratch. That's how I joined Shane's company. Knowing I hadn't rented a place yet, Shane kindly offered me a room in his apartment. After moving in together, feeling a bit embarrassed, I took the initiative to cook dinner every day. Over time, romantic feelings developed naturally between us. Shane fulfilled all my ideals in a partner: calm, attractive, and wise. So when emotional bonds tied us together, I completely lost the rationality to consider whether we were truly compatible. In everyone else's eyes, I was just one of Shane's employees. But privately, Shane and I had already grown intimately close. I walked to the roadside, watching the hurried traffic passing by, and finally couldn't hold back my tears. The downside of dating your boss is that a breakup also means losing your job. Trouble really does come in pairs. I immediately found a new job. 3 years of work experience still counted for something. After completing the simple resignation process at Shane's company, I started at a new firm. I thought I was done with Shane for good. But then I saw a video posted by a mutual friend. In it, Shane held Rose's hand, exchanging cups of wine amid everyone's cheers. Rose emptied her wine glass with a tilt. Shane's cheeks were flushed, and by sheer coincidence, he glanced at the camera. Right then, his gaze met mine directly through the lens. I caught a spark of excitement in his eyes, one I'd never seen before. A bitter ache tightened around my heart. My finger slipped, accidentally liking his social media post. After hastily unliking it, a message from Shane popped up. "My fiancé will be moving in soon. I've packed your things for you. Come get them whenever you're free." I really wanted to coolly reply with, "Throw it away. But during the probation period, you only get paid 80% of your salary, so you have to save where you can." I replied with an okay and confirmed that I'd go pick it up on Saturday. When Saturday arrived, having not seen Shane for a while, I felt inexplicably awkward. I lingered at the entrance of the neighborhood for a bit, then decided to find someone to go with me. But with cars coming and going this whole time, where was I going to find someone on such short notice? So I decided to spend $200 to hire someone. I arrived at the storefront on the street and saw a handsome guy sitting at the entrance of a real estate agency. He looked to be in his early 20s, wearing a tank top that showed off his impressively toned arm muscles, and he was smoking a cigarette at the moment. I walked over and asked, "Do you need someone to show properties?" Interrupted by me, he paused for a moment and shook his head. "I'll give you 100, come with me." The real estate agent hesitated for a moment, a teasing smile playing at the corners of his eyes. I thought he was mocking my actions. But then I saw him nod. The rental agent and I arrived at Shane's doorstep. Before opening the door, Shane's gaze swept over me, his expression carrying a hint of inquiry as he looked at the agent. "Your stuff is in the living room, all packed up." I thought he might show some other expression, but he didn't. After saying this, he turned and walked away, as if he didn't care at all who was beside me. "Yvonne, so that was your ex-boyfriend?" The agent suddenly decided to add his own scene. Not sure what his intention was, I nodded along. The agent just sneered and said, "So old." He draped his arm over my shoulder and said, "It's not for you." We walked to the living room together, where all my scattered belongings had been packed into 2 cardboard boxes by Shane. Conveniently, there was one for each of us. Shane shot an irritated glance at the agent. Clearly, the agent's earlier words had successfully caught his attention. I felt immensely grateful toward the agent. After all, before coming upstairs, I had only briefly described my situation to him. I never expected that spending this $100 would be so worthwhile. Not only did he play along, but he also went all out to help me. As we were heading out, we heard the sound of someone sprinting toward the entrance. Shane. This was my first time seeing Rose in real life. She perfectly fit my stereotype of a flower-crowned, dance-loving beauty from the islands. Clearly, she and I, who was just on my way out, had come face to face. Her smile remained on her face, showing not a trace of suspicion. "Who's this?" After saying that, her gaze shifted to behind me. Shane's footsteps came from outside. A former employee left a lot of things at my place. To my surprise, Shane's tone was so calm. He didn't even hesitate before categorizing me as a former employee. He wasn't wrong, but I couldn't help wanting to argue. The rental agent took a step forward, as if about to say something. But before he could, I spoke up. Employee? My grip loosened, and the cardboard box thudded to the floor, its scattered contents clattering for a moment. Facing Rose's somewhat stunned expression, I crouched down and peeled off the tape on top. Inside were all the cosmetics and miscellaneous items I had left at Shane's place. I pulled out an ugly-looking little bear from the pile. This was the first prize Shane won for an employee at a claw machine. This was the deathly shade of lipstick Shane bought for an employee on our 1-year anniversary. And what kind of anniversary is this? Shane, care to explain? I picked the box back up, turned around defiantly, and watched Shane's face darken instantly. So good to see you still have such an awkward expression. I turned and saw Rose looking somewhat startled, her brows knitted tightly, clearly quite shocked. Suddenly my sympathy kicked in. Rose didn't know this story either. I figured I'd just warn her so she could steer clear. I don't actually want to break you guys up or anything. I just want you to see clearly. Before I could finish, Rose cut me off. I get it. You're that obsessive pursuer Shane mentioned. In an instant, it felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over my head. Any remaining thoughts of preserving Shane's dignity vanished. I was trembling with anger. Shane walked over to Rose's side, wrapped his arm around her, and smirked in a way I couldn't quite read. He gently patted Rose's shoulder. It's fine, it's all in the past now. Clearly, he had long prepared for my meeting with Rose. He even went as far as to portray me as a crazed woman. Seeing that I remained silent, Rose spoke with displeasure. I've heard from Shane. There was a time when, because of your relentless pursuit, he let you live here alone. You even imagined that many things were done by him. With a sigh, she continued, Miss, I think you're still young and have a bright future ahead of you. Don't keep making mistakes. Under her concerned gaze, my eyes reddened. I don't know exactly what Shane has portrayed me as. But I just want to say, I'm not crazy. I glanced at Shane, whose eyes were brimming with smugness, his arm tightening around Rose's waist. Let's leave it at that. I suddenly slumped in defeat. In this relationship, I never once entertained the thought of preparing for battle. With Shane having laid his groundwork for so long, how could I possibly compete? I walked past the two of them toward the elevator. The property agent stayed silent for a long time before speaking in a voice neither too loud nor too soft as he followed behind me, Trash. This voice was loud enough for both of them to hear. Once downstairs, I could no longer hold back my tears. Tears were streaming down my face uncontrollably as I vividly remembered needing to settle the payment with the delivery guy. He placed the cardboard box on the ground and gazed into the distance, his expression unreadable. No need, $100 to see you happy is worth it. But I've got things to do now, see you next time. With that, he turned and ran off. There really are more good people in this world. The new company specializes in wedding design and has a solid reputation in the industry. Due to business expansion, they've hired some interns. One of the interns and I locked eyes, finally recognizing each other. Isn't this the same enthusiastic, helpful agent guy from before? Having dreams. Impressive. Then, I heard the supervisor assign him to me, instructing me to mentor him properly. The agency guy smiled at me with crinkled eyes. Hello, my name is Lucas. May is peak wedding season, and once things got busy, they spiraled out of control. One day, the supervisor mentioned that the company had secured a major client. The groom was a young and successful company CEO, and the bride was a dance teacher who grew up overseas. The setup sounded strangely familiar, but I didn't dwell on it. Until the supervisor brought me to meet the wedding hosts, I realized my intuition at the time had been completely correct. After not seeing each other for over 10 days, Shane and Rose seemed even closer. When I saw them, Rose was clinging tightly to Shane, almost as if she were draped over him. Upon realizing it was me who had arrived, both Shane and Rose looked slightly stunned. This? The supervisor said, This is my assistant, Yvonne. Shane's expression turned odd. If this lady is the one designing our wedding, I think we'll pass. His voice was as cold as ice, striking deep into my heart. Ah? The supervisor didn't press for details. Yvonne, you can go back for now. Her words carried a hint of blame toward me. But what could I do? Shane was the client. I nodded awkwardly, and just as I was about to turn and leave, Rose spoke up. Wait. Her eyes showed no trace of hesitation. Let's go with her. Shane frowned slightly but ultimately remained silent. Still, why? The supervisor placed several wedding plans before the couple and began explaining warmly. This beachfront ceremony would suit your shared love for the ocean. For a moment, my mind wandered. Nature? It felt as though time had slipped back to just over a month ago. Shane went abroad for business negotiations, and on the night before his departure, we were still tightly wrapped in each other's arms on the master bedroom's large bed. I bit his chin lightly and asked, "What if you meet a hot girl while you're overseas?" He chuckled and replied, "I wouldn't even glance at them." But the occurrence of true love is always so sudden. Not only did he meet someone, but he even registered their marriage with official documents on the spot. Rose nodded after hearing her supervisor's words. Indeed, Shane and I want some beach elements. Because that's where we first met, on the beach. It was at the beach, she said, blushing shyly. I was dancing when he walked up to me, and the first thing he asked was, "Will you be my girlfriend?" I froze for a moment, inexplicably reminded of what Shane said to me on the day we broke up. I don't think I ever actually acknowledged that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. Turns out, Shane can take the initiative too. I glanced at Shane, only to find him looking right back at me. His eyes were dark. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly turned away. Shane and I have decided to only marry once in our lifetime, so please take this seriously, both of you. Rose clasped her hands together and spoke to us earnestly. When her gaze flickered over me, she paused momentarily. After that meeting, Rose seemed to enjoy mentioning me quite often. She even invited me to accompany her to try on wedding dresses. The location was an upscale bridal boutique. By the time I arrived, Rose was standing in front of 3 lavish wedding gowns, with an attendant nearby bowing and scraping as they gave their recommendations. This time without Shane. After Rose dismissed the waiter, it was just the two of us. In Rose's eyes, I couldn't detect even a hint of malice. I nodded, and Rose took a slight step back, then helped me choose one. The 3 wedding dresses had different styles, with one black wedding dress standing out as particularly unique. Perhaps noticing my gaze, Rose smiled. "You think this one is special too, don't you?" My gaze lowered to the skirt, which was adorned with densely clustered tiny diamonds. They must have looked absolutely stunning under the light. "Rose, since you think of me as just some obsessive admirer, why did you still specifically ask me to design your wedding?" I finally asked the question. Rose blinked at me and said, "I figured someone who adores Shane as much as you do would have an eye for what would please him." This sentence means, giving me a bit of a sense of involvement? For a moment, I was at a loss for words, feeling that Rose didn't entirely disbelieve my words. "Rose, you really don't believe that Shane and I were..." I didn't finish what I was saying, but Rose understood. She revealed a mysterious smile. "Maybe yes, maybe no. What does it matter? In the end, many relationships are just about exchanging benefits. As long as Shane is willing to spend money on me, that's fine." Rose reached out and took down the black wedding dress. "I'll go try it on then." She walked to the fitting room and pulled the heavy curtain closed. I sat on the sofa in the lounge and heard steady footsteps approaching from outside. The moment I looked up, I locked eyes with Shane, dressed in a tailored suit. His gaze was inscrutable as he tilted his head slightly outward. I followed Shane to the main hall of the bridal shop. "Is there something you want to say?" I try my best to keep a certain distance from Shane. His gaze at me is ambiguous and hard to read. "Yvonne, I hope you'll stop interfering in my relationship. As you can see, I cherish Rose very much." Seeing Shane act so openly, images of those wedding dresses involuntarily flashed through my mind. Shane, who had never once promised me a wedding, has now given that very promise to someone else. And even now, he still looks down on me from his high horse. Anger turns into bitter laughter. Shane, it's your wife who keeps insisting I be involved in your wedding designs. I'm not the one clinging to you. When Rose was mentioned, Shane's gaze softened for a moment. Rose is kind. The anger in my chest seemed to flare even higher. Since you've already helped Rose pick out a wedding dress, I won't keep you company any longer. I grabbed my bag and was about to leave when a loud rumble echoed. Rain had started pouring outside. Shane walked up behind me, his voice drifting lightly over. Wait a little. Once Rose is done trying on the dress, we'll give you a ride. After all, you've made so many trips, even if there's no credit, there's hard work. Still with that condescending tone. As if giving me a ride was charity. As if those 3 years of affection were too. I picked up my phone, pondered for a moment, and suddenly made a decision. No need. My boyfriend is coming to pick me up soon. Sure enough, Shane looked surprised. Boyfriend? It hasn't even been a month since we broke up, has it? I suddenly laughed. Shane, it was you who said we weren't actually boyfriend and girlfriend, remember? Shane didn't expect me to turn the tables on him suddenly, and his expression instantly darkened. A few seconds later, as if he had come to some realization, his frown eased. Yvonne, you can't fool me. You just want to make me feel bad, don't you? Stubbornness will only leave you going home alone, drenched like a drowned rat. After throwing out those harsh words, Shane circled back to the boyfriend I mentioned. He's always been like this, ripping apart your dignity, then smiling as he watches you lower your head and admit defeat. Yvonne, if you really have a boyfriend now, I'd be happy for you. Where is he? The fact that I don't have a boyfriend right now is glaringly obvious, but I'm holding my phone, unsure what to do. Just as I hesitate, my phone suddenly rings. It's Lucas calling. Under Shane's astonished gaze, I answer the call. Yvonne, my car is parked by the roadside. I'll pick you up when you're done. It's raining heavily, don't come running over. Never mind how Lucas found me. His arrival has solved an urgent problem, sparing me from having to put on an act. I'm done with my things. From the other end of the phone came the sound of a seatbelt unfastening, followed by Lucas's somewhat cheerful voice. Alright, I'll be right there. I stood inside the glass door of the bridal shop, watching as the door of a Lamborghini parked by the roadside opened. A pair of long legs stepped out. I couldn't help but stare. Lucas is this rich. Living the experience, huh? Puddles had already formed all over the street. Holding a black umbrella, Lucas walked toward me with calm self-assurance. Is this the guy who helped you move last time? I had almost forgotten about Shane's presence. Noticing my silence, a cold glint flashed in Shane's eyes. Blonde boy, quite fitting for you. But be careful not to get scammed out of your money. From a dog's mouth, no ivory comes out. After saying these 2 sentences, Lucas had already reached the entrance and pulled open the glass door. Lucas tilted the black umbrella toward me, covering me with most of its shelter. It felt as though, at that very moment, the storms of my life were suddenly shut out by this black umbrella. Shane, mind your own business. I stepped under Lucas's umbrella and, under Shane's gaze, looped my arm through his. Lucas seemed fully prepared, his arm not even stiffening slightly. Only when we got into the car did I finally exhale in relief. Thank you so much for today, Lucas. Let me treat you to barbecue. Lucas in the driver's seat looked a bit more mature. He curled his lips into a smile. Eating barbecue is fine, but don't treat me. Otherwise, it would be like fooling you out of your money. Darn it, so he heard everything just now. Then he probably could guess what I was doing with those little gestures earlier. I'm really sorry you had to see me in such awkward situations with my ex-boyfriend twice. Feeling somewhat embarrassed, I asked, but how did you know I was here? Lucas started the car. Yesterday, the supervisor left the new employee's file on the desk, and I accidentally saw it. Then today, I heard you were accompanying the bride for her wedding dress fitting, so I came to this high-end boutique. Didn't expect to guess right. Lucas, I really owe you these 2 times. Warmth surged in my heart. Lucas and I weren't related in any way, yet he had extended a helping hand both times when I needed it. Are you about to cry again? Seeing me with my head lowered, Lucas's voice was deep. He leaned in, warm fingers lifting my chin slightly, his expression serious. No, I'm not crying. Although breaking up with Shane could be listed as one of the unluckiest things to happen to me since adulthood. Seeing that I was fine, Lucas tapped my cheek playfully with his fingers. Let's go, let's have some barbecue. As he withdrew his hand, I suddenly felt an emptiness in my heart. During the 3 years with Shane, aside from physical intimacy, we rarely engaged in any tender physical contact. So this was another small detail? My ears burned. How was Lucas so experienced? After that, the dynamic between Lucas and me underwent a subtle shift. I had always been the one taking the lead with Lucas, but now he became inseparable from me. Even in work settings, other colleagues started noticing something was up. Later, when we went to help Shane set up the banquet venue, he suddenly showed up. As usual, Rose was clinging to him with fiery enthusiasm. Hi, Yvonne. I gave a slight nod, and as my gaze swept over Shane, I happened to catch his indifferent expression. Shane, are we doing the vows by the beach first, then coming here? She tugged at Shane's sleeve. Shane nodded. Rose looked around curiously and suddenly let go of Shane's hand, as if something on-site had piqued her interest. She disappeared from my view. Yvonne, have some water. Lucas came from off the field, holding a bottle of chilled mineral water. Shane's gaze carried an indecipherable emotion as he simply repeated Lucas's words. Upon seeing Shane, Lucas flashed a fake smile, though his eyes still betrayed a hint of menace. Shane, shouldn't you be with your fiancé? Shane's gaze drifted into the distance. Far away, Rose was mingling with other staff members. Noticing Shane's silence, Lucas added another remark. People really should keep their eyes wide open, Shane. Like my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, he was so trashy even dogs wouldn't glance his way. Suddenly being called out, my face grew warm. This Lucas, how does he dive into character so effortlessly? So, Shane, you and your fiancé should take the time to really get to know each other now while you can. Lucas tapped my cheek with his ice-cold water bottle, snapping me out of my daze. Let's go, we should head over there. When Lucas spoke to me, his voice was exceptionally gentle. I glanced at Shane, whose face had darkened, and felt a surge of satisfaction. Little boys sure have sharp tongues. I could hear the gritted teeth in Shane's tone, and at that, Lucas flashed a genuine smile. Shane might not realize, it's some people's hearts that are truly venomous, only revealing their true colors on the wedding day. Oh? Then I should count myself lucky to have met my soulmate, such things won't happen to me. Lucas paused for a second, turned to Shane, and said as if tossing out a gift, Congratulations, Shane, the old tree is finally blooming. I detected a mocking tone in his voice. Do you know something? I don't know, I'm just really happy to see them get married. Lucas said this, but the corners of his mouth curled up. On the day of the wedding, I arrived early at the venue. Both Lucas and I were dressed in formal attire. It was the first time I had seen Lucas dressed so formally, and I couldn't take my eyes off him. I couldn't forget the first time we met, when he was wearing a tank top. Lucas seemed to notice my gaze, his eyes glancing over me with a hint of amusement. Yvonne, what's wrong? I shook my head without saying a word. Don't ask, blame it on being dazzled by his looks. Since Rose's parents were abroad, they skipped the walk down the aisle altogether. Shane was dressed in a suit, showcasing the charm of a mature man. Meanwhile, Rose stole the spotlight in an unconventional black wedding dress. Before the ring exchange, the MC pointed to the projection behind the wedding stage, announcing they would play a music video featuring the bride and groom. The room fell silent as everyone prepared to enjoy the moment. Just then, Lucas lowered his head. His breath brushed against the curve of my ear, sending a ticklish sensation. Yvonne, the show's about to begin, he whispered. I hadn't quite grasped what he meant when the projection displayed Rose holding a child. The little one looked mixed race, bearing a slight resemblance to Rose. "What kind of recording is this?" Shane asked Rose with a smile, but Rose remained silent. The guests below were guessing whether the child was Rose's or someone else's. The next scene showed Rose in the operating room. Her face was pale, her forehead drenched in sweat, with a baby placed beside her. Clearly, Rose had just given birth. I had never imagined this before, as Rose didn't seem like someone who liked children. Shane's expression was terrifyingly grim. He stared straight at Rose, who just shrugged at him in response. "Do you have a child?" "Yes." Receiving a positive answer, Shane tossed the prepared ring box aside with a thud, as if to punctuate the outburst that followed. "Why didn't you tell me sooner that you have a child?" Rose looked rather innocent. "Shane, you never asked me either. And why are you breaking things? Would you stop loving me if I have a child?" Shane was interrupted by Rose's simple words, and a sudden look of shame appeared on his face. I just feel. It's my first marriage, and I wanted to marry someone for the first time too. But this is my first marriage as well." Shane's expression grew increasingly grim at that moment. "I'm sorry, Rose, let's get a divorce." He took a step back and irritably tugged off his bow tie. "Sorry, everyone, I need a moment to calm down." Shane valued his pride above all else, and now he's left on his own, leaving behind a ripple of shocked murmurs from the crowd below. The audience below included not only Shane's family and friends but also his business associates. Now, everyone knew about the fiasco at Shane's wedding. Rose's expression was calm, as if she wasn't saddened by Shane's departure. She picked up the microphone and said to the audience, "There's just a child involved. I don't know why he acted this way. But honestly, I wouldn't want to marry a man like that either." With that, she lifted her veil and casually tossed it onto the stage. Stunned by the sudden turn of events, I glanced at Lucas, who stood nearby with his arms crossed, watching the drama unfold. "Was this all you're doing?" Lucas pouted. "I'm not that bored. I just found out she had a child and asked Rose if she wanted to post it." Rose agreed right away. My feelings were complicated, unsure of how Rose must be feeling now. Perhaps there was a bit of shared sorrow between us. I found Rose. She had changed into casual clothes and come down to the hotel lobby, not a trace of grief on her face. When she saw me, she still managed to smile. "You don't seem too upset." "Why be sad? At least Shane spent a lot of money on me." This left me speechless. "Very soon, I'll be leaving this place. It was nice meeting you." Suddenly I realized that the kindness Rose had shown me before wasn't fake. "Rose, you knew from the very beginning that he and I were in a relationship, didn't you?" Rose didn't speak, revealing a meaningful smile. "Thank you for helping me see his true colors." Rose grinned, showing a few front teeth. "Right? That cute guy next to you isn't bad at all." I knew he meant Lucas. "Lucas is quite caring, but does he actually feel that way about me?" I wasn't sure. The wedding may have fallen through, but at least Shane paid us. And this whole wedding gave us plenty of laughs, so it was worth it. As I was leaving work, I saw someone I didn't really want to run into. It was my first time seeing Shane since the whole wedding fiasco. At first, I didn't even recognize him. He stood under a streetlight, looking suddenly frail and old. Only when I walked out did his eyes light up. "Yvonne, I came to see you. Can we talk somewhere?" I looked at him, thinking finding a place to talk was too much of a hassle. "Did we need to talk for so long? If you have something to say, just say it." Noticing my distant attitude, Shane's eyes dimmed slightly. "I transferred 20% of the company's shares to Rose back then. Do you think I can get them back now?" I was stunned. I hadn't realized Shane had been so deeply entangled at the time. He was the kind of person who would wait until after the probation period to pay for social insurance. No wonder Rose said to me at the bridal shop, "Just give me money to spend." I think I really was fooled by Rose. She was scheming to get my money from the very beginning. Someone turned the video of me dropping the ring box at the wedding into a parody clip. Now the company is struggling too, maybe you should come back and help me? I never expected the ending to turn out like this. I forced a smile. I'm doing just fine here, why should I go back and help you? I was already unlucky enough to join his startup company. Why do I have to take my bad luck all the way to the end? Shane took a step toward me, but seeing me instinctively step back, the hurt in his eyes deepened. He raised his hand and slapped himself across the face. Sorry, Yvonne. It was my fault back then. If you resent me, I'll keep hitting myself until you forgive me. After that, he began slapping himself repeatedly. How terrifying. On the surface, he was tormenting himself, but in reality, he was only giving me one choice. A hand landed on my shoulder, and the familiar crisp scent of cologne told me it was Lucas. Instantly, I exhaled in relief. Only when I reacted did I realize I'd already grown accustomed to Lucas's presence. Shane, why is the runaway fiancé here performing performance art? Still the same sharp tongue, love it. Seeing me struggling to hold back laughter, Shane's eyes showed a hint of uncertainty. He spoke up, Yvonne, don't lie to me. There's no love in the way you look at him. After saying this, he seemed to regain some confidence. I know how it feels when you truly love someone. I felt a wave of shame, those years of loving you were my dark history. Hearing this, Lucas tightened his arm around me. I'm afraid you two aren't even in a real relationship. Lucas's arm loosened, and just as I thought he was about to leave, he spoke. Yeah. I'm the one pursuing Yvonne. Isn't that obvious? Shane seemed about to speak again, but Lucas wouldn't stop talking. Do you think girls prefer younger or older guys? Another age-related jab? Nice one. But this kick seemed to hit a steel plate because Shane was barely 30, not exactly old. Plus, he considered himself a promising young man. Immediately, he narrowed his eyes. Little boy, judging by your looks, you must be a senior in college? Bet you if I say the word, you'll be out of a job. I furrowed my brows instantly upon hearing this. So the man I'd loved for 3 years was just someone who enjoyed bullying others. Just as I was about to retort, Lucas let out a soft laugh behind me. Shane, do you know the name of our group's boss? Vincent. From my understanding of Lucas during this time, I knew he was holding back something big at this moment. I turned to look at him and saw his eyes sparkling like stars under the street light. Yvonne, tell him what my name is. Lucas. Wait. Vincent's son is Lucas? That was well hidden. Shane and I were both left speechless, his eyes finally darkened completely. Before leaving, Shane couldn't resist muttering under his breath, no wonder you ditched so quickly, found someone better to latch onto. Furious, it only took a little test to reveal Shane's despicable soul. I was about to retort, but Lucas tightened his grip on my wrist and pulled me aside. I lifted my head defiantly to look at him, catching only the sharp edge of Lucas's jawline and his haughty gaze. Exactly, who wouldn't choose the best? Patting himself on the back again. And successfully pissing off Shane again. Brilliant. Lucas led me back to the Lamborghini. Only then did I remember that rainy day when I first learned Lucas drove such an expensive car. At the time, I simply assumed he was just another spoiled rich kid. Turns out he was actually the son of our company's CEO. Yvonne, heading home? He helped fasten my seatbelt, as if dismissing what had just happened. Seeing my slightly horrified expression, he gave a faint smile. What's wrong? I gathered my thoughts. No wonder you quit being a real estate agent so easily. Turns out you had a backup plan. I've never worked as a real estate agent. His words left me completely baffled. What? So he was being nice that day? I always thought he saw me as a potential client. I went to rent an apartment. The agent was searching for listings inside, and while I was smoking a cigarette at the door, you took me away. Guess I was just overflowing with a sense of justice. With a smile in his eyes, he suddenly ruffled the back of my head. Speaking of which, you still owe me 100. That did happen, but back then, when I tried to transfer the money, he refused. Should I give it to you now? As I spoke, I took out my phone. Lucas pursed his lips and moved a bit closer to me, so close that I could even count his eyelashes. I don't want money. Under his influence, my voice began to waver slightly. Then what do you want? A chance to pursue you. I blinked. Huh? Weren't you just talking nonsense earlier? Lucas paused for a moment. Of course not. I always take playing your boyfriend very seriously. So falling for you, guess that counts as an occupational hazard? I leaned back a little, my face burning so much it felt like it might explode. Well, good luck with that. Raindrops suddenly pounded against the car windows. Another rainy day, and once again Lucas was taking me away from the storm. Later, I heard that Shane's company indeed couldn't hold on. They said he had to liquidate his assets and was left with piles of debt. The once arrogant boss now faced an ending of his own choosing. Meanwhile, my relationship with Lucas quietly blossomed through those slow, mundane days. He was no longer that green rookie, nor just an intern. He officially became my colleague. But privately, he'd always wait for me after work, handing me my favorite iced Americano, or simply parking his car outside the office, window half rolled down, tipping his chin at me. Yvonne, hop in. At first, I stubbornly argued that I was afraid of gossip. He just laughed, his eyes curving into lovely crescents. Let them talk then. After all, I'm chasing you openly, not in secret. Later, I got used to it. Got used to the breakfasts he brought, the black umbrella he suddenly appeared with on rainy days, the way he'd sit quietly beside me working late into the night, occasionally reaching over to massage my sore shoulders. Eventually, I stopped running away. One ordinary weekend, we went grocery shopping together. He pushed the cart while I tossed things in. As we passed the snacks aisle, he suddenly stopped, picking up a box of chocolate, my longtime favorite that I'd avoided for ages to lose weight. I froze for a moment. How did you know I like this brand? He put the chocolate in the cart, his tone matter of fact. You left an unfinished box at Shane's place before. I noticed it while packing your things. My heart melted. That day when we moved, he remembered even such small details. As we left the checkout, a light rain began to fall again. He took off his coat and draped it over my head, getting soaked himself as he went to get the car. Watching his retreating figure, I suddenly felt all the grievances and waiting over the years softly smoothed away in that moment. The car's heater was blasting. He turned his head to look at me, his voice low. Yvonne. I've been chasing you for so long, don't you think it's time to give me a straight answer? I tilted my head to look at him while the windshield wipers swiped back and forth, as if keeping rhythm for me. I laughed. So, are you still chasing after her? His grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly, the tips of his ears turning red, yet he feigned composure. Of course I'll keep pursuing you, unless you tell me to get lost yourself. I reached out and touched his cheek, my fingertips carrying the coolness of the rain. Then don't go. He slammed on the brakes, pulled the car over, and turned to embrace me. The force was so strong, it felt like he wanted to press me into his very bones. In that moment, I felt something within me settle completely. Later, we had our wedding too. A simple one, by the beach at dusk, with just a few dozen close friends. I wore a white wedding dress, and he wore a black suit. Before exchanging rings, the MC smiled and asked, "Groom, do you have anything you'd like to say to the bride?" Lucas held my hand, his eyes gleaming as if filled with starlight. Yvonne, I used to think I was lucky, showing up just when you needed me the most. It wasn't luck, it was the best decision I ever made, that day when I didn't walk away from the agency's door. From now on, I'll shield you from the storms, you just focus on staying beautiful. My eyes grew warm as tears of happiness streamed down my cheeks. He leaned in to kiss me, the sound of ocean waves and our friends' applause filling the background. And I finally understood, true love has never been about settling or waiting for the other to offer a declaration. It's about someone willing to hand you an umbrella when you're in disarray. To stand firmly by your side when you doubt yourself. To whisper gently when you're finally ready to believe again, this time, let me chase you, for a lifetime.